Black Circle family. We're back for another episode, and I am very excited to welcome the wonderful Tobi Kyeremateng. I got it right.
Yeah, you did.
Welcome. Before I kind of like get into you and your story and all of your many achievements, I actually just want to reel off a list of like your awards and your accolades because they're so amazing and impressive. So BAFTA winner, best short form programme, How to Be a Person. We've got produced work for BBC, BFI, Channel 4, Comedy Central, Film 4, Netflix, Sky Arts, featured in Forbes 30 Under 30 Europe list, and Netflix New Talent Award at the 2023 Women in Film and TV Awards. Hello. Hello. So before all of these amazing things and achievements, where do we begin? Like, where did the story start for you?
So my background is originally in theatre. So I was still producing and entered that through an apprenticeship. So I feel like at the time that I was growing up, if you wanted to work in the arts, you were told to be an actor.
Right,
right. That was the route.
Quickest.
Yeah. It was like, okay, yeah, you definitely want to be an actor then. And for me, it was like, I don't know. But I did lots of like youth, like theatre stuff and all that kind of jazz. And then went to college, did performing arts, BTEC. And I really enjoyed the process of like working with artists and sort of like that creative, you know, like what should we do, coming up with ideas, but I didn't necessarily want to actually then perform the thing.
Right.
And so after that, when everyone started to like audition for drama schools and uni and all that kind of stuff, I was a bit stuck because I was just sort of like, I don't want to go to drama school because I don't want to be an actor. And if I did go to uni, I don't actually know what I would study. So I literally Googled apprenticeships in London.
Yeah.
And one actually did pop up, and it was the first year that they were running this program for different pathways in theatre, and I didn't know what any of them meant, so I just applied for all of them, and then got placed at this theatre called Battersea Arts Centre, and that's sort of where I learned about producing in a very specific context. But I was sort of like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool, and the plan was to like do that scheme for a year and then figure out what I wanted to do in my life and then go to uni.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, I'll just keep doing this. And I just like stayed and then did lots of like different things. But film, TV, that kind of world, I didn't move into properly until maybe like 4 or 5 years ago.
Right. So it was quite a new kind of...
Super recent, yeah.
Yes. Well, that's incredible for it being so new and just this a massive amount of achievement in such a short space of time. Like it feels like this is kind of purposeful for you. You're walking in your purpose and your path. So that's brilliant. So let's actually jump into it and talk about some of your projects and where you are now. So how has your journey as producer evolved from your early work to where you are now?
Yeah, I feel like I just started off making films with my friends, and they were much more sort of like moving image artist films. So kind of the films that you would kind of see in like gallery spaces and super abstract, sometimes no dialogue, but none of us really knew what we were doing. So there was kind of a lot of freedom to just sort of make what we wanted to make and what we thought was cool. And then lockdown happened. Mm-hmm. And at that time I was still working in theatres and obviously everything shut down.
Yeah.
But things were still being able to be filmed kind of like once we came out of like the lockdown period of time. And then someone messaged me on LinkedIn, which is funny because I hate LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's a bit of a love-hate kind of marmalade type of platform, isn't it?
But they were producing this like documentary type thing with British Vogue, and they were like, we've seen the work that you did with your friends, basically, like, do you want to come and do this? And then that kind of like jump-started everything. And then I think at the end of 2020, I did my first short film, which was Blue Corridor 15. And then the year after that, I did How to Be a Person. So it was a lot of firsts, and it did happen very quickly, to be honest.
Snowball effect, and just kind of the trajectory of it was pretty quick.
Definitely a baptism of fire, I would say. I was like thrown into the deep end. But then it was like, oh, I'm learning a lot here and I really enjoy it. And at the time I felt like I'd done a lot in theatre and kind of gotten as far as I could, especially for my age at that time. So it was like, oh, I'll just like pivot. And it wasn't sort of like, oh, this is now the career that I want to do.
Yeah.
It was just like, I like doing this right now, so I'll just do it, and then I'll probably go back. But then the more things I did, and they were all like super different and really varied. I just felt like I'm still like very much learning in this space. So I want to continue to do more.
Right. And you mentioned short films, and so obviously the short films such as One Up, and that's screened at major festivals like BFI London Film Festival. So what is it about short films that you kind of like continue to inspire your creativity?
I love short films.
Yeah,
they're like, I feel like they're just a whole genre on its own. Like I think a lot of people do a short film to then get to the feature,
right.
Which is like the trajectory, I guess. But I feel like the ability to be able to tell a story in 15, 20 minutes max is it's a real feat and it's a real skill. And I also feel like that's where a lot of new artists can really thrive. And it can be quite a playful space.
Right. And I guess like budget-wise as well, that gives you a bit more room to... Or does it? I don't know. No.
I mean, like the first short film I did, the budget for that was like £3,000.
Okay.
Like it was nothing. No, you know, people were getting paid nothing really to do it. And then the latest short I did was 90.
Okay, so there's huge difference.
So very, very different.
Yeah.
They were both still not enough for the projects that were happening because the ambition is always going to be greater than the money and the resources that you have to do it. So it's like contending with that. But I think it's, if we're going to like try things and if we're going to mess up, it's the best space to do that in.
Yeah.
Rather than, I guess, like having the major responsibility of like working on a TV series or working on a feature film and being like, I want to shoot on film for the first time. And it's like, cool, we could do that, but there's a lot more at stake with something over there that has multiple stakeholders and all that kind of stuff than this short film that's only going to be a certain length of time and only going to take a certain amount of resource. But I love it. I just feel like this where you meet a lot of really great artists who are, I guess, like coming up in the space and getting to sort of build that relationship with them super early.
I was going to say, is there something about short films as opposed to feature films, like you said, where you meet more up and coming? Is there more of a space to be, not I guess more creative, but to be a bit more free agent, or is as opposed to kind of like the feature? Is there a difference in that at all?
I think so.
Yeah.
But I also think people have to sort of give themselves permission to do that. I think I meet a lot of writers and directors that put a lot of pressure on the shorts that they're doing because it's sort of like it takes one short to like springboard your career and for you to get an agent or to win like amazing awards or to be commissioned for something, or do you know what I mean? And so everyone's sort of like, like this has to be the thing that changes my life.
Pressure a bit.
So much pressure. And it's like, pressure's good because it's going to allow us to make the best thing, but also like we can't come and kill ourselves. Like as a short film, ultimately it's going to be 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like let's do the things that we really want to do and make an amazing film, but it should also be an enjoyable process.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Absolutely. How do you approach producing content across varied tones, from comedy to drama to documentary?
Yeah, so I know you've had Ola on here.
Yes.
So I was chatting to him actually because I was really trying to figure out how to describe the kind of work I do as a producer that works across everything. Because some producers will have their sort of genres, like I do drama, or I do documentary. And I think sometimes in the wider industry, when I'm sort of like, I just do everything, people sort of like, but
it's broad, isn't it?
What's the speciality?
Like pinpoint it.
Yeah. So I was chatting to Ola and I was like, Ola, like, how would you like describe my work? And he was like, I think you're like stories first, like artists first, and you're just genre agnostic, like whatever the
genre
story.
Agnostic. I like that description.
Yeah. It's very sort of like whatever, if there's a really interesting story, whatever format it needs to take, it can take.
Right.
It's just about the story being interesting and it's about the artists being really interesting and exciting, and that's the thing that sort of spurs a lot of my work. And so there is probably a spine to some of the work that I do in terms of the kind of artists I work with, and I think some of my stuff tends to be like super like colourful and like a bit wacky, and and I work with mainly Black artists. So there is, I guess, like threads there. But I don't feel a type of way if it's like a comedy or a documentary or a road drama, because ultimately it's about who the characters are, what is the journey that they're going on, what makes me excited to sort of work on this project. So I'm still figuring out how to like say that in industry speak, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, that's a nice kind of way to round it up, I guess. Definitely. So let's move on a little bit to your own company that you founded, Them Ones. So what was kind of like the motivation behind founding that? And do you feel like it's shaped your creative freedom and vision?
So Them Ones, honestly, I had to set up by force.
Right. Oh, right.
There were projects that I was working on, and in order to get the funding, you had to do it through a production company.
Right.
And so obviously you can find another company, but as a producer, usually it's your own because you own the rights to the work.
Which is better.
Yeah. So I set one up, and at the time I really didn't want to be honest. I was like, this is like having a child. Like there's so much that comes with setting up your own company, the admin behind it, that I don't have money to like spend on, you know, lawyers and accountants and stuff like that. So set it up, ran my one project through it, and then left it for a few years, to be fair. And then with my latest short that I produced this year, it also is running through the company. And because it's with Film for on the BFI, now I needed a logo and I needed certain things. And I was like, I actually don't have any of these things. Yeah, I just shut that company away. So it kind of forced me to open it up again. And actually in the conversations that I'm also having with writers and directors, it was very much sort of like trying to build my own slate of work. And so thinking about the projects that I want to develop and I want to produce that isn't just me being brought onto someone else's project.
Right.
And so then I was like, okay, let me take this a bit seriously. So yeah, I think it sounds sexier than it actually is, because it's like nothing's happening
right
through the company. Like there are things going through it, I guess, but it's still very much in its infancy. But I think it's been really nice to talk about the projects that I'm developing and to sort of say, this is my taste. Yeah. Basically, like these are the things that I'm interested in. It also gives you a bit more legitimacy to some people, I guess. So yeah, it's like I'm trying to have fun with it and not be bogged down by the amount of stuff that I have to do.
I was going to ask, because is there like a lot of creatives that I talk to, and this isn't across the board, but there's this kind of push against the business side and the admin side and your creativity. Like, do you feel like you can marry those two well, or do you prefer to kind of stay on the creative side of things?
I think I have to marry them. Yeah. Like you can't really... I get that one side of it seems a lot more exciting than the other. And I feel like a lot of people think it's just going to be the exciting stuff all the time. Like even when I've had people that are like, oh, can I like come and like shadow on your shoes, or can I like come and like do whatever? I'm like, you can. Yeah. It's probably not going to be as exciting as you think it's going to be, if I'm honest. But yeah, definitely. And then they get them, they're like, oh yeah, there's actually not much happening. And it's like, yeah,
told you.
But I think in order to like facilitate the creative stuff and to facilitate the artists that I want to work with, you have to get down and dirty with the business, especially when it comes to protecting ideas, looking after IP. Like if you're working with original IP or existing IP, making sure that you are getting the most out of the thing that you're making, especially if you're working with another company or working with a particular financier. Like everything that you want to negotiate happens at that stage. And so I'm still like coming to terms with certain things and being like, I don't know what this means. And I'm constantly calling my friends to be like, what is this? Yeah. Like, what do I do with this? But it's important. And I don't, even though it's not fun, I don't think it impedes on the creative stuff. It just means that I can fight for things that I think are right, or I can say, this is going to make my life hell down the road. In a way that the creative stuff isn't even going to be exciting because I'm going to be battling this stuff later. Yeah. So let's just leave it here, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on a moment ago about kind of like checking in with your network and your circle. And I know that you do mentoring, and we'll come on to that. But is there kind of any influencers or mentors that you kind of have around you to kind of, you know, building that protection and that nice village and
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, a lot of the people that I'm friends with now,
Yeah.
like I call them all the time. Like I talked about Ola, and I met Ola in the context of work,
Yeah.
because we were working together. But that's like my brother.
Yeah.
And I will call him anytime. Do you know what I mean? I know he will answer the phone. It's kind of like I have a lot of those relationships. And then there's people like Fiona Lamptey, who was used to be head of UK Originals at Netflix.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But she had a similar journey where she was working in-house at Film 4, and she set up her own kind of production company, and she was working with a lot of new talent and underrepresented talent in the short form space. And now she's like set up a new studio and she's doing something bigger. And I met with her the other day and I was like, how do you do this stuff? And, you know, it's just people that are really going to give you the realness. Like I have had some official mentors through some programs. Some of them have been great. Some of them haven't. Like, I think that's also
It's a hit and miss, isn't it?
Yeah, I think mentorship, like, again, it sounds really sexy. And then you do it and you're like, oh, actually, this isn't that useful.
Yeah. If you have the wrong mentor, it's a draining time, really.
Yeah, exactly. And so I really appreciate being able to just pick up the phone to my friends, basically, and be like, I don't know what's going on, or I need help doing this, or this situation happened to me and I don't know how to handle it. And for them to just sort of like give me the realness without the sort of flowery industry stuff around it as well.
Yeah, and no agenda as well, which is important.
Exactly.
Definitely. I want to move the conversation a little bit and kind of tap into representation and identity and like your success and how that's kind of all woven into your story. So let's start with, how do you personally define success, especially as a Black woman in the film industry? And I know that's it's a big question.
Yeah. I really don't. I feel like I will feel the most successful when I'm like super confident in being able to say I make what I like.
Yep.
And that just being the definitive answer without feeling like I need to justify the skills that I have to do that or how it's going to work or whatever that is. Just being able to be like, I just make what I like.
Yeah.
Or people being like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I think so. It's very empowering.
Yeah. Because that is ultimately what I want to do. Yeah. I think the goalposts always shift when it comes to success. Like when I made my first short film, I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that was made on nothing, basically. But the fact that it got made was a huge success for me in my career at that point versus the things that I'm doing now. And so I think it will always sort of shift. But I think being able to just like make what I like the way that I want to make it as well, like having that agency is really important, and being able to sort of bring in the people that I want to bring in. And create a process of working that makes sense for the artist that I'm working with and not just making sense for the industry. Because some artists work super differently and they want to be a lot more playful, and there should be room for that, and I want to be able to create room and space for that as well.
Yeah.
Then I'll sort of be like, all right, cool. Yeah, I feel good about this.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like it's like for success for you is ever evolving, which is a beautiful thing. So the media industry is often a tough space for like women of colour specifically. Can you share some of the challenges you face in your career and what strategies you've used to navigate them?
Yeah. I feel like a mix of my race and my gender and my age means that I'm constantly having to prove my skill set to people.
Yeah.
And that's been the same in any industry that I've worked in. I don't think it's even industry specific. I think it's just a case of like people being like, oh, but are you going to be able to do that? And it's like, probably, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like maybe not, but there's no, like the room for failure is really, really slim.
Yeah.
Even like mentally, like stepping onto something. Like I was an associate producer on a feature film recently, and the whole point of being an AP was that you're learning on that film to then go and do your own. And there was still the fear of failing. And it's like, how do you fail at something that you're meant to be learning in? Like by default, you're going to fail.
Space,
yeah.
To make those failures.
Like it's going to happen because you're doing things that you've never done before.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was still like, oh, but I can't fail. I have to be perfect at this thing. And it's hard to not feel that way, especially when you're navigating industries and just navigating the world where that is constantly impeding on you. And so I think I do a lot of, like, my friends are very important.
Yeah.
I do, like, they ground me a lot, I think, in just sort of being like, this is my anxiety at the moment. This is the thing that I'm feeling really stressed about. And them just being like, this is a non-issue.
Yeah.
Like,
giving you context, giving you
just being like, I hear what you're saying, and actually this is my experience of that, and in the end this happened,
right,
and it wasn't that deep. And being like, okay, cool, that makes me feel better. And also having to, like, fake audacity, to be honest.
I like that. No, so, I like that. Expand on that, because
it's I'm a hermit. Like, I don't like leaving my house. This is the most I'm going to talk today. I don't like speaking.
You're like a real introvert.
Yeah, I'm super introverted. Like, anyone that knows me knows that. But if I have to fake being audacious and being on my shit, then I can. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, of course you are. Yeah.
Because I feel like there is, like, the Tobi that exists in real life that is, like, the super, like, introverted, very, like, and then producer Tobi that is, like, a bit more upfront, to the point, straightforward, and not in, like, a rude way, but just in a way that's sort of like, this is what I really care about. This is what I'm really passionate about.
But even then, because I'm a little bit guilty of this as well. You know, you were saying not in a rude way, but assertiveness is seen as aggressive, aggression, or, you know, being bossy, and I hate that word. But it's not. It's just you being assertive, and you don't really need to apologize.
Yeah, it's true. Like, the like disclaimers, like, already just, like, come with trying to use language that can seem loaded because of who we are.
Yeah,
but it's like, I have to fake that version of myself to get things over the line, or to just, like, move myself through the industry. But then I get home and I'm just like, oh my god, and I'll be thinking about it all night. Do you know? By the time I'll just be like, it's this. No. It's like, you just have to. I fake audacity all the time.
I like that, because there was, I think it was Sheryl Sandberg's book. I forgot the title. That's gone out of my head. She was, like, worked for Google, and she said that men, they kind of lead with this audacity, and, like, they've already got it. You know, they've already got the job, they've already got the promotion, and how women, we can lean into that a little bit more. So I definitely think there's something in that, and there's that whole imposter syndrome of, do I belong at the table, and all of that. And that goes through my head, and I know so many other women, and it's the same story for them. So just seeing what you do, and so many amazing women that sat on this sofa, changing that narrative just through your work, just through the testimony of your work alone, is really important. So no, I love it. Audacity, you need more audacity. So I kind of touched on mentoring a little bit earlier, and you are a BAFTA jury member, and you've mentored organisations like Film London. So do you feel like there's a sense of responsibility to support the next generation, particularly women and Black creators?
Personally, yeah, I do, to be honest. I just feel like this is my everyone loves a, like, I did it all on my own, no one believed in me, and and actually, when I talk to people more about their journeys, I'm like, you actually went on your own. You had so many people supporting you. It's like, but and it's just like, I've had so many people supporting me. That's literally the only reason I can do what I'm doing. I didn't study at university. There's no formal qualification or anything like that to support me go from A to B. It's been vibes. And people along the way being like, okay, cool, do this. You know? And so I do feel like it is my responsibility to be as useful as I can be to other people, because why not? Like, I don't lose anything by trying to be useful. And I think it's, for some people, it's the only way that they're going to be able to do the thing that they want to do, especially if they're taking alternate routes to get to where they want to go. And I don't think it's something that I need to be paid for. I'm so against, and, like, some people think that's controversial, but I'm so against people charging for mentoring.
I so against. I do agree with that. I think you should just, if you're paying it forward, just pay it forward with your time, right? And
exactly. I just think it's insane that someone would pay me to ask me a question.
Yes.
It's stupid. Like, sorry, but it's ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, ask me the question. Do you know what I mean? Like, of course.
Yeah.
Why not? And if I don't know the answer, I'll just be like, I don't know, but this person might, and I'll connect you to them. It's important. And I think it's also like those conversations are the only way that people don't keep making the same mistakes, or we don't keep being tripped up by the same stuff.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Because there's stuff that Fiona said to me that going into that, I can sort of be like, oh, okay, cool. Fiona said this, so I'm not going to do that. Or I'm going to look out for this, or whatever that thing is. So I'm not just going to end up being in certain situations that she wished that she wasn't in at that time. Do you know what I mean? So the only way we could do that is constantly talking to each other and being really transparent with each other and being really open about our experiences. So I just don't see why people wouldn't, not from a place of ego and being like, I've got so much to give, because I don't actually think I've got that much to give to people.
But I mean, all the accolades. I mean, there's a lot in there.
Yeah, but I'm still like learning myself. Yeah, do you know what I mean? I don't feel like I've got shit figured out at all. But if someone has a question, I will try to answer it. Yeah, I feel like it's just as basic as that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like I said, I completely agree with you on the whole mentoring thing. For me, it's just like it's an act of like giving and just being a little bit selfless, and it's your time, right? It's your time. So it's just how you manage that and give back. So no, 100% agree with you on that one. So how do you see the role of Black women in shaping the future of storytelling, and what changes would you like to see in the industry?
I saw a clip today, I feel like, from Kerry Washington, I want to say, and she was talking about how she felt like today something like Scandal wouldn't get made because there are less companies that are willing to invest in stories with strong Black female leads. And actually, when you look at the landscape of film and TV at the moment,
she's right.
I would say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
But actually, when we look at some of our favourite works that have come out over the last 10 years or whatever it is, a lot of them have been led by Black women.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just about, I think there's a lot of fear, and I quotation mark that because it gives empathy, and actually I'm not empathetic because I don't think it's a fear from a place of empathy. I think it's a fear of newness and
unknown,
investing in artists that other people aren't screaming about yet, but they probably will be in 5 years' time. But that's where the magic happens, and it's annoying because the thought always comes in retrospect. Like someone will make something amazing, Michaela Cole will do I May Destroy You, and then someone will be like, oh, I wish I did chewing gum, or I had the opportunity to do chewing gum and I didn't because I didn't think that it would be good, and now everyone loves it, and like, oh, I regret that. And then they make the same mistake with someone else. Well, not even a mistake because it's intentional, but I think it is just about, if people have got amazing ideas, you then surround them with the right people to make it work. That's the point. And I think more of that needs to happen. And I know we always talk about kind of like having certain faces in high places. That doesn't always work though.
Right.
Like there are some people that I guess like morally or ethically, politically don't align with actually what you're doing. It is sort of like, I think before that would have been my response, to be like, we just need to see more of us there. Yeah. And it's like, I don't think the buck can just stop there. Because there might be someone up there that looks like me that doesn't care for the work that I want to make, or doesn't care for the artists that I want to work with. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Actually, nothing is changing. I think it's about having change makers in those positions who are concerned with fucking shit up a little bit.
Yes, being a bit disruptive and being scared to kind of like get in there and
to just get to the good stuff because they know the stuff is going to work.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what I would like to see.
Yes, those braver kind of changes. And also kind of just going back to, I always like to kind of look at the landscape between the UK and the US. And I know you mentioned Michaela Cole, but how difficult or more, I guess it's progressive, not the word, but just, with the UK versus the US is what I'm trying to get at, with the black, strong female lead.
I guess with the US, in particular for actors, there might be more opportunities just because it's bigger.
Yeah.
There's a bigger demographic. Hollywood is this huge system. I think like a lot of the UK film and TV industries do rely somewhat on the States financially, like we kind of saw that with the strikes, which heavily affected the UK, even though the strikes weren't happening here. You know, so I think there's that aspect to it, but I think some of the struggles are the same in terms of the stories that you hear of people being like, this got rejected 50 times before someone picked it up, or I had to make it myself and then someone gave me that commission. Like those stories are still circulating regardless of what side of the pond you're on. And so like sometimes people are like, would you go to the States? And I'm like, yeah, I could, but for what? Like, I feel like I would still have some, like, I think I would still have similar experiences, but have access to, I guess, a wider breadth of opportunity because there is a bigger community there, because there are probably more black-led production companies making work and stuff like that, whereas here it's not really the same, that I'll be invested in that kind of way. So yeah, like it's difficult when you look at people that you think are really successful and then, you know, like that whole The Colour Purple press tour, and it was just people being like, we are in the gutter, and I was like, this is so dire.
I heard all about that. It's like, oh god,
you know, it's like that was not inspiring. No. And you kind of thought that that's what you would get of being like, you know, we're in this incredible film surrounded by lots of amazing black creatives, and it was still the same conversation.
It's just shocking. It's
hard. It's hard everywhere. But I definitely see the appeal of the States, especially for actors in finding more work, because there is more work there.
Right. But I know that we always have the conversation about the UK and the US, but I know there's some really interesting things now happening in like Nollywood, for example, and South Africa. So kind of what would you like to see, you know, kind of happening over on that side of the thing? What would you like to see happening on kind of like the continent?
Yeah, a lot has been happening recently, especially in Nigeria. Like, so much is being made. Kind of, I think some artists attempted to move slightly outside of the like landscape of Nollywood and make something that feels to them a bit more polished and all taking on different themes and things like that. Or even with filmmakers like Rungano Nayoni, who did I Am Not a Witch, and her film on becoming a guinea fowl is now at LFF, and that is set in Zambia, I think, I want to say. So there are filmmakers that are like actively choosing to make work in the countries that they're from, and putting that investment there, which I also think is important. You know, not going to get into it, but looking at the colonial relationships as well between a lot of those countries, it's like, money should be going there.
Absolutely.
Let's support the creators, you know, across the diaspora. But it feels really exciting. It actually feels like a super exciting time to be making work in some of these spaces, and in a lot of these kind of newly emerging industries.
Like I'm saying, the things that I'm seeing coming out of there, things on Netflix, is it Young, Rich and African? I think it is, like those type of series, and telling those kind of stories from the lens of, you know, these incredible kind of influential people in Africa and South Africa. I want to see more of that. I really, really do. So I'm glad that it's kind of, the investment is starting to pour in the attention. So kind of just to round out the conversation, what are some of the projects or themes you're excited to explore next, and how do you envisage your work continue to impact the film industry?
I'm really excited to do like a horror or a thriller.
Okay,
I haven't done one yet, but I really want to. like a sort of like psychological thriller I would love to do. I want to just continue to make really weird stuff.
Yeah.
I think that people are they come out and they're like, what the hell? But also I loved it. Like that's the dream.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited by that. I'm really excited by adaptations. So there's a big adaptation that I'm trying to develop at the moment. And there's so many plays that I'm like, that would be amazing as a film. So I think there's something also in the space of existing IP coming to screen that I think could be really exciting. And yeah, just working with lots of incredible artists. Like, I think everything on my slate at the moment, no one's made a film before, and that's quite exciting to me. I wanted to continue to sort of champion those artists.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a fantastic conversation, and I thank you so much. But just before we go, I like to always ask my guests a value. So one for your personal life and one for your professional life. It can be a word. You can go into depth if you want to. So let's start with your professional life.
It's annoying because I said it already, but my word was audacity.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah,
that was my word.
Yeah,
for my professional life.
Audacity. And for your professional life,
probably openness. Just being really open to whatever happens and not boxing myself in by overthinking it too much. Just being like, yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's go with it. I like that. Thank you so much. If people want to follow your journey, where can they find you?
Instagram if they want, but I just post memes on my Instagram, I can't lie. It's not super professional. Or LinkedIn, obviously.
And your website as well.
Oh my God. I'm a website. The one space that is professional on my website.
Yes, which is
www.tobikyere.com.
Amazing. Tobi, thank you so much. Really, really enjoyed the conversation. And guys, if you want to follow the Black Circle journey, you can find us on YouTube, Black Circle Podcast, and on Instagram, the Black Circle.podcast. Like, follow, subscribe. Thank you.